and Light Star Seeds. As always, I am Ayansa J. Muse, the Black Madonna of the airwaves, bringing you the music, the mystics, and the mojo on Radio for the Cosmos 222.9, the Mothership. And welcome to a new episode of the Cosmic Ear Hustle. It is Earth Day, Wednesday, Oya's Day, April 22nd, Earth Day, and the solar return of the founder of Absolem's Voodoo House here in Houston, Texas. I have Absolem Yetzirah on the line. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. I'm 43
Good,
today.
good, good. Oh,
Wait,
really?
I'm 44 today.
I'm trying to be like Prince and stop counting. We'll see how that goes. So, everybody in the comments, make sure you wish Brother Absalom a happy solar return, a happy 40. Ooh, 44 is a master number. So, you got 22 on the day and 44 on the age. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So, let's take it from the
422.
top. Uh huh.
Yeah,
So, where are
422,
you
and
from?
I'm 44. I am from Texas, but I'm from a small town outside of Houston called Needville.
Really? What's that place like? I've never heard of Needville.
It's very small. It's a farming community. Um, Mostly Czech and German folks. Um, my family moved out there in the late 70s. They're originally from the Rio Grande Valley area, and
Hmm.
they built a small house right outside of Needville in an even smaller town called the village of Pleak, Texas in the 70s. And then I was
So
born
you
in
are
82.
accustomed to. Oh, okay. So you're accustomed to village life per se.
Yeah, yeah, small town life. Everybody knows everybody. It happens in your house. The whole town knows, within the next hour.
I actually came from a small town called Texarkana before I went to college at Prairie View, and it was the same way, especially if you had a certain last name because of the old bloodlines that are in the small town. So I completely feel you there. So at what point did you realize that you had spiritual gifts? When did you realize you had that otherworldly thing going on? Was that something you knew of since childhood, or tell me about how that unfolded?
Oh yeah, I come from a family that has a lot of different gifted people in it. Um, my grandmother and my mom both very gifted. I have several cousins, on that are gifted, and other aunts as well. So it was something that just came part of the territory, I guess you could say. It wasn't very uncommon. Um, I think my earliest was I was very young. I don't remember, but it was just something that was told to me by my mom and my grandmother that when we were on a trip, one of the first signs I gave to divination was a lady was reading some wax for them, and they
Hmm.
couldn't get a clear reading. And when I peered into the pot, I told them
Hmm.
what I saw, and what I saw came to be. And so that was one of the first signs, I guess, that they saw of, oh, this, they have a gift of divination. And
Yes.
so that's where my real gift lies, is I can see a lot of options and crossroads and possibilities and things like that. And I started reading in, I would say, about the fifth or sixth grade. I can't remember which one it is, but um, I was very young. It was Needville. I think we were Needville in intermediate school. Yeah, so I think that was fifth grade. But what I remember was I used to have a deck of tarot cards that I bought. and I would play
Oh
with
yeah.
them and stuff like that. And so I started taking them to school, and we went on a trip. And on the trip, I had the deck of cards, and there was a teacher, the one of the teachers that they go with you on the field trips, and she saw that I was reading cards, and she had had her cards read before, and she
Hmm.
asked me if I would read her cards, and
Oh
I
wow.
and I did, yeah, right, and I did, and um, needless to say, I guess that was my first client because I had been reading for her ever since. Um, and I think
Oh
it's been
wow.
maybe about 4 years since I've seen her last. So she's seen me grow. Literally, she's seen me through school and
I
graduate
love
and
it.
all that. Yeah. Yeah. So that was just something that came,
Did you ever face any religious?
any religious, I'm sorry.
Sorry, there's a slight delay. I'm sorry. There's a slight delay, so I have to kind of wait until you're finished. I apologize. But what I was asking is, did you face any kind of religious backlash?
Living in the small community, uh, no, believe it or not, the religious backlash didn't come from living in a small community. It came from family members, actually. We had an aunt
Oh wow.
who converted to Christianity, and she had become an Assemblies of God. And because I had these gifts, about this time I was probably about 14 years old, and so I was already very well developed into who I was with that and what I had. And um,
Hmm.
they came in very full, heavy handed with Bible and this and that I had all sorts of stuff in the other, and it was just really crazy. Other than that crazy family member, I don't think that I really ever faced any type of religious persecution for any of my beliefs. You know,
Lucky you.
yeah. Well, yeah. I do find myself fortunate because of the family that I grew up in. The spirituality was a little different. Again, one of the things that some people know about me is that I'm from the Karankawa tribe. So a lot of our families, we were
Wow.
always, yeah, Karankawa.
Can you tell us more about that, please?
We're we're the tribe of the Texas Gulf Coast. So we're the people of the Texas Gulf Coast from Corpus Christi Bay all the way to the San Jacinto River here in Houston and Galveston Bay. Um, we extended about 50 miles from the shore inland. That's our inherited territory. And we've always been very church, anti religion, since the Spaniards came here with the missions and the French came here with their priests, and then
Hmm.
the settlers didn't come with the religion; they came with the weapons, with the rifles. But
Yes.
we had always been very resistant to that religion that was coming with Catholicism. And so our families kind of grew up a little different. We grew up with our own structure of spiritualities and beliefs, based from what we bring in from our native traditions. So that's one of the reasons why I did grow up with more acceptance in a family. And when this aunt came, with her religious persecution, it was my grandmother and other family members that were like, "You're weird. Like, leave him alone. Like, go away. What are you talking about?"
Well, my experience was quite the opposite until I allowed myself to just get comfortable in it and allow them to come around.
Mm,
Tell me more about what, I mean, we talked about you having gifts. What types of gifts do you have? The ones that you're okay with sharing? We don't let all of our secrets out of the bag, but
My,
what all gifts would you like to share with us?
my gift that God gave me to utilize and to share is my gift of reading. That has always been my foundation of what I've always done. I don't need any tools. I don't need any tarot deck bones. I don't need anything. My biggest divination tools that I use really is the earth around me. I can look into clouds, look into the leaves of the trees, look into the grass. Um,
Shay.
but I see in that way. The way I see or the way I read is uh, the best way I can describe it is there's a scene in Men in Black 2, and there's a being, the fifth dimensional hyper being, and he sees
Mm-hmm.
these multiple possibilities. All of them can be
Yes.
true, right? And that's
Yes.
how I read for my clients. I can see the multiple possibilities, and then I give them that
Yes.
information, and then they choose which one they go. And what the funny thing is 9 out of 10 they'll always choose the worst route.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's why I'm nodding because I'm like, that's exactly how I do my future predictions. It's like, no, the future is a crossroad depending on your choices in the now. If you take this path, I see this happening. If you take this path, I see that happening. It's actually a matter of alternate endings. And yes, most of the time they do choose the worst choice simply because of the refusal to change the pattern that caused the problem.
Yes, like there's actually perfect movie just came out. It's on Netflix. It's called So Torn, SEW, and it's about a seamstress.
Oh,
And it plays three all she's going through, and she gets stuck with a choice. And the rest of the movie is the outcomes of the three choices as she would have made
yes.
them. And I go, oh,
Like
that's my
alternate
favorite
endings.
movie. Yes. And so that's my
Yes. Oh,
favorite movie because I say that's how when I read people, that's what I see. And I tell
absolutely.
them, these are your outcomes. Which way do you want to
And
go?
see, and yes, because in Orisha tradition, that's why so much reverence is given to Eshu, because Eshu is the keeper of the crossroads and teaches you the importance of your choices. And that's why Eshu is symbolized with, keys and doors. So at what point did your gifts develop to a space um where you started Absalem's House of Voodoo? Is voodoo the only spiritual system that you work with, or is it just the main one you work with?
Well, Absalom's House of Voodoo came to be out of default, really. Um,
Divine
I was,
assignment.
yeah. So first, I came into voodoo. I came into voodoo. How do? It's a long story short. In in 2003, I was deployed to Iraq, and I had a particular set of dreams while I was there. I sketched the images that I saw in those dreams and never thought about them again. In 2005, I met an older hoodoo woman here in Houston named Lilith Arsenault, and she went by the name Mama Lilith. And in talking
Mhm.
with her, she described a voodoo spirit that was very similar to what I had drawn some years back. And when I showed her the spirit, the drawing, that's what she's the one that pointed me to the direction of a particular priestess in New Orleans. And that's where I ended up coming to voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, until then, like I tell most people, other than familiar superstitions and folklore and the ability to read, I was very secular. I didn't do religion. I don't do faith or rituals or none of that. You know, I'll say my prayers. The anchor of any of that in our family at that time, anyway, was our grandmother. You know, she was kind of the one that was really
Sure.
keeping particular things around. And again, it didn't come until those last years that I was sitting with my grandmother. Myself and my mother cared for my grandparents, her parents, in their last years. And it was
Mm-hmm.
in those years that my grandmother brought me to a realization of what I had to do. You see, we were all raised with these traditions. It wasn't like I was the golden child and I was selected to be taught everything. No, we all grew up with the natural medicines. My grandmother was a curandera, so she worked with plants and herbs and did a lot of prayer. It just so happens that I was the one that really put more of it to practice or had more questions than some of the others, you know. So
Yes.
in my 30s was really when my grandmother was telling me, "Hey, look, I'm about to be gone in a little while, and you really should think about what you're doing with your gifts and with your life and all that." Now, mind you, I was a very successful social worker for 15 years. I started in my early
Mm-hmm.
30s and or what in my late 20s, and I retired right after COVID. Um, and so it wasn't like I wasn't doing anything. Um,
Right.
so so my sitting down with her and losing her and then losing my grandfather and experiencing those things in transitioning. The real thing was that was my work with death. Um, I very much have a connection to life and death. I've been able to tell when people are pregnant. I've been able to tell them if they're having a boy or a girl. If I'm close to the individuals, which I've become some of their godparents, I could even tell you when the child was going to be born. Like, hey, you got to chill tomorrow because that baby's coming. I know the doctor says in 2 weeks, but the baby's telling me they're ready to come out, so they're coming tomorrow. Stuff like that.
Wow.
But I've also been as close to death because of that too. So I can see when people are passing.
Oh yeah.
Particularly, it's been within my family that I can see that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see other people's passing. The most recent was I was outside in our garden and I was raking, and I saw my grandfather, who's been passed 5 years. I saw him at the bus stop across the street, and he said the name Rollo, which is my mom's uncle. And I called my
Mm-hmm.
mom and I said, "I just saw Grandpa, and we know where he's at." I said, "And he just said your Uncle Rollo's name. So if you've got something to say to him, I suggest you go say it now." And sure enough,
Mm-hmm.
he passed that Friday, which she did. She had
Oh
enough time to
wow.
go see him and pay, say goodbyes and spend some time with him before he passed. So those are the secondary gifts that I have behind that divination. So um,
Ashe. Before we go any further, I've got to say thank you for your service to our country because it's
oh
not easy to go and lay your life down for a country that you know is jacked, but you still have to defend the border still. So before we go any further, I want to give thanks to you for that because people don't appreciate veterans, and I can't stand that shit. Excuse my language.
yeah,
So, before we go any further, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you.
thank you for that. Yeah, that was a very intense time, and I now understand that I had to go through that time in order to be where I am today, you know. And
Absolutely. So how were your gifts working while you were in there?
oh, while I was overseas or while I was in the
Oh yeah.
Marines,
Yes, give us the goods. Oh, you're one of the few and the proud too. Oh,
uh,
give us the goods.
yeah,
Give us the goods.
again, um, I can see things which which in that time I was very secular. Um, Other than seeing really some things in people's lives, just in which directions to go, I always knew I was going to be okay. That was one thing because I could see that. I could see the different possibilities. There were a couple of times that I did
This is a
tell
journey into
people a
some.
couple of things, and it did save them from accidents that they were doing. Like there was a couple of times these Marines were going to um, Oceanside. It's a town out there by San Diego that Marines go to a lot. And I just happened to tell one of these Marines, dude, I don't know. I don't have a good feeling, which I was trying to tell him without spooking him. Don't go to this place
Right.
because something's going to
Oh, that's
happen.
always the hard part. That is
Yeah,
such the hard part because it's like you don't want to scare people, but it's like, ugh, that sign's right there. But okay, go on.
yeah, and really, I mean, what ended up happening is these guys got in trouble. One of them had some. They had weed on them, but one of the guys had weed on him. They got arrested because at a bar fight, and so what? If you can't do that when you're in service. You can't get arrested, and you definitely can't be smoking weed. And so because he didn't go with them that weekend, he didn't get arrested or caught up with them in their military legal stuff.
Wow.
So that's one time. Um, Other than that, really, I'm telling you, these gifts, um, it was very much on the back burner at that time.
So are you able to suppress and pull them back up? Because sometimes I am, and other times I'm not.
I can
Sometimes
turn it off and turn it on.
it's not as easy for me. I can turn it down, but not off. Because it's like when I try to, so it's like when I try to turn it off, that's when it starts talking louder, and I just be like, okay, okay, fine, fine. And so being gifted, of course, makes life very magical. But what are some of the things that get on your nerves about it? What do you like about being gifted the least?
I think what I don't like, what frustrates me the most is a lot of my patients. And there's a difference between my clients and my patients. My patients are the ones that I treat in their healing process. And
Yes.
and when I give them the good advice and what they need, the good medicine that they need to get out of their traumas and step into their
Oh,
glory,
yes. Yes.
that's the most frustrating part is for them to come back in 2 weeks and say, I'm only human, doc. And then they go, yeah, you are. Yeah.
You ain't human, you
Yeah.
hard headed.
Yeah, like do you just like beating up on yourself? Like just like getting like what's going on here? But
Seriously, because in some clients, I'll just be like, I love you, but are you masochistic or what?
yeah, but I'll tell you, that's what I had to do 20 years of social work for also. Being
Mm,
gifted, I used my gifts as a social worker a lot to bring a lot of healing to my clients, and several aspects. The conjuration part actually helped me in some areas of opening doors for clients to housing, landing
yes.
employment, things like that. So, um, the divination aspect helped me to kind of see a little bit into what some of their barriers were, where their traumas were coming from. What did we have to heal with to stay sober? Things like
Yes.
that. So a lot of the folks that I read now, they're similar to the people that I was working with as a social worker. I mean, they have real life traumas and hurts and pains that have opened up spiritual portals in their life
Yes.
that bring in
Yes.
spiritual entities. And
Mm-hmm.
and that is my other gift, I guess you could say, is battling spiritual entities. So,
Absolutely.
which is why that aunt came to
Oh
attack
boy.
me all those years ago because
No.
because I can battle and see spiritual entities. I was at
And you
a
can see them on her.
church. I already knew all hers. We're family. But I went to that church and there was a prophetess named Paula that was there, and she was doing all sorts of mumbo jumbo, and I saw the spirits on her. I could literally see the demons telling her what to
Man.
say,
Oh my
whispering
God.
people's sins into her ear so that she would tell them their own sins and they'd get, "Oh my God, you know my sins."
Yeah.
And the end result was money, money, money.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm.
called her out on that. And she told my aunt that went to that church, "Your nephew has a demon with him. Your nephew has a demon, this and that, and whatever, whatever." Yeah. And I've told a few people this. When that happened, I got really sick.
No.
She told my aunt, I got really sick. I came down with a fever, and my mother didn't know what was going on. And keep in mind, I was only like 14 or 15 years old when this was going on. And uh my grandfather is Sephardic. He's Spanish Jew. And really sick, went into a fever, started having a lot of dreams. And she told my aunt was, and I'd never heard of this word before in my life. She said, "Your nephew astro projected at me and attacked me." And that apparently happened when I was in this fever. And so you see, and so when my mom and my grandmother are hearing this, because they believe in certain ways, they're like, "Well, maybe she was attacking him and his spirit was defending himself from this monster."
It
And
was
and
because
the thing,
do you know what fevers are?
yeah,
Fevers transmute energy because heat
yep.
transforms, expands, evaporates.
And
Oh,
my grandfather had a prayer
did
shawl.
that.
The Jewish men, they have this prayer shawl that they wear.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother took it and she laid that out over me, and that's when I broke the fever.
Ashay.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know what I like the least about being gifted? How many other gifted people choose to create divisions in areas where there should be unity?
Uh, Whole other show.
You know, that's going, yeah, we're going to have to come up with a series on that one. Shit. I mean, it's like so silly. I'm like potato, potato. Oh my God. Because when you look at the essences behind the names in different regions of the world, we're calling the same energies by different names. And then there's this big, stupid fight about that. And it just irks my nerves. I can't.
I
I
get that a lot.
freaking can't.
I do. I
How
get that a
so?
lot. Well, on a lot of ways, a lot of it, though, I forgive people because it either stems from jealousy, pride, or ego. A lot of people
Yes.
don't like that I have a business, you know, um, and it can be on both sides. Um, People don't like that I have a voodoo store. People don't like that people call me the voodoo king of Houston. People don't like that I've been on the news. People don't like all these things, which I mean, that's fine. That's their problem. But I also have people that don't like that I sell sage or that, all this other kind of stuff. And and I go, well, first of all, where is the hate coming from? Because no one is saying you can't do these things, you know.
Right.
Um, I have done everything I have simply out of obedience, truly to the spirits.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. We may end up starting a little series about this because I can already tell. I could go
You
on.
you
I'm
know,
sorry.
I have to say this. I have to say this first of all. When I left and I retired from being a social worker, I was a
Hmm.
director of a facility by this point. So I was sitting in I was no longer dealing with clients. I no longer had direct client care. I no longer had a caseload. I was signing the paychecks. So I was getting a
Right.
very, very, very wonderful salary, a lot of benefits. So
Yes.
people think that I'm making millions, and I left that behind. I left that and took a substantial, extremely big pay cut to do what I'm doing now.
To be
You know,
aligned.
right. And people hate on what I'm doing. And I go, well, if you want to do it, that's fine. I'd love to go back and make about $175,000 a year just sitting in an office making people's schedules. I would love
Hmm.
that. Going on vacation every month, at a lot of PTO, racked up and all that jazz. But the
Now,
spirit said,
with all due respect, you would have been happy with the money, but your spirit would have been a fish out of water.
exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
And the realization that spirit had moved me to that job. Spirit got me that job. Let me tell you how spirit works when people listen. The
Oh
job
yeah.
that I actually had applied to was to be I was going to be a dispatch operator for the police department,
Uh huh.
and I got the job. But the job said you have to go to this weekend training to get it, and that weekend was St. John's Eve in Voodoo religion in New Orleans, and I was stuck with an
Mm.
option. I go to training, and I got this really good job, or I go to New Orleans and initiate in Voodoo. Well,
Mm.
I chose go to New Orleans, and
That's right.
on July 9th, I had a whole new offer that I sat in that job for 20 years and moved as high up as I could.
Yes. Yes. I
But
feel you
but
completely.
that's because the spirit wanted me to be there, because in that time I housed thousands of homeless veterans, changed lots of policies for the city of Houston, the Veterans Affairs Administration with mental health, and homelessness, addiction, things like that. And when COVID ended, Spirit said, "Your mission, your task here is done. Now this other thing you have to go," and that's what I do now. I'm basically a spiritual social worker. And now
Yes.
everybody
Oh
comes
man,
in, and it's
I
this.
love it because it's like the spirit world grooms you and then levels it up and levels it up and levels it up. I'm not sure if I had no, because I didn't talk about the radio station while we had when we were at the panel. I didn't mention the mothership, but I played a character of a radio personality 3 months before I became one in real life.
uh,
And the funny thing is, this is the cherry on the cake. My character's name 22 years ago. Now, 22 years ago, I was a Christian and I didn't know what the heck an Orisha was or an ancestor. But my character's name was Lavender Storm. Oya rules the storms and her color is purple, and I'm on the airwaves. And you are so right about listening to spirit because I can't begin to tell you how many times the spirit would tell me to do something, and I'd be like, "You want me to do what? Oh, but that don't make no sense." I throw my hissy fit, but I do it and watch the magic. And I think what a lot of people get so mad about is that a lot of people are not understanding that true alignment is not mocked, mimic, or copy. You got to sit down somewhere and get what God has for you because you will never be another person better than they are. But what
Oh
I
yeah.
want to ask is how did you come into becoming the Voodoo King of Houston? How did that come across your desk? Did you, I mean, was that something you ever called yourself, or was that something people just started calling you, or you were like, huh?
Okay.
Okay.
So
How did the Voodoo King of
there's
Houston happen?
there's some rules. Okay. That's the other thing that people don't know. First of all, a lot of people who hate on that, they don't understand how those traditions come about in New Orleans and how they've traveled down here to Houston. In New Orleans, you get the role of king by performing a task that not anybody can perform. It really is a gamble, to be honest on it. It's
Yeah.
like it's like a gambler's bluff. In order to become a voodoo queen, you have to preside over the St. John's Eve ceremonies. That's how somebody gets that title of voodoo queen. It means that they have presided over the St. John's Eve head washings and ceremonies at either Lake Pontchartrain or on the river. So that's how they get that. Again, in order to get that title of voodoo king, which it's mostly conjure doctors, you have to perform a conjuration that no one else can perform. And somebody has to come with you with this thing. So it just so happened that in 2016, the Astros and Phil Archer came to my doorsteps when I had just opened, and they asked me to help the Astros win the World Series. And I went on national TV and I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the Astros win this game. And they'll win the next game and they're going to win the World Series. And because they
Hmm.
did, I won that bet. And so I got the
Wow.
honor to get that title because I did a conjuration and a bet that no one believed that I could do, and it came to be.
Hmm.
And the Astros won the World Series that year. And that's just how I got that title. You know, it doesn't mean that I rule over anything. In fact, if anybody knows anything about voodoo, there are no rulers. No one can
Right.
tell, no one rules over an individual. Not even the priests can tell you what to do. The only one that can tell you what to do is you. only
Exactly.
only you can make the choice to do something, you know. But that's all that is, and people take that title so out of context. They
I
run with it.
see.
But that's what
But
that's how I got that.
that's what goes back to that thing that the things about not what you don't like about this path is like the arrogance that doesn't belong in spirituality. You learn one or two things, and it's like you're Craig and Day Day off Friday after next, like we top notch security of the world. Damn, you just learned how to pour one libation. Sit down and learn something. You know what I'm saying? It's annoying. It is annoying. But we're gonna keep it positive. I'm
Yes.
curious. So what were you on the news about? What were you on the news about?
Oh God. Well, there was that about the Astros. Um, Most of it has been about the business. Absalom's House of Voodoo. Isaiah Carey came down. He did a real good interview with me about, who I was and kind of got into my Marine Corps life. Another couple of folks, and it's all just been that, just interviews. Um, my what I've been in other press about actually is, so my spiritual name is Absolem Yetzirah. But if
Mm-hmm.
you Google Oscar Gonzalez Yetzira, it will bring up everything that I've done in my professional life as a social
Ah,
as a social worker. So
okay.
I've been on a lot of news, talking about homeless veterans issues, policy changes, things like that. I've been in the Houston Chronicle a lot because of that. and and that's why. And people, I don't know, they hate on all of that stuff. But again, people, what I always say it leads back to is their own pride, ego, and jealousy. And really what
Oh
my
yes.
biggest message to people is you when you only see someone's glories or honors, for some reason they never take a look at the hardships that it
Oh my
took
God.
to
The
get
price
there.
you paid.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So what does the Voodoo House offer? Tell us
So
about the Voodoo House. Give us the goods.
Absalom's House of Voodoo really is multi-featured, multi-service. When I originally started a business concept, because that's what it was. When I originally started a business concept, I had no intentions of opening up a store. I really just wanted to become a distributor to other businesses. That was that was
Hmm.
the that was the initial goal. When I started elevating in voodoo, my life and mission took a different direction, and my agreements with my own spirit. So as a lot of people know, my crown is Marie Laveau. She's
Touche.
my big spirit.
Touche.
She adopted me when I initiated in 2009. Her waters blessed me. I've been in her home several times, and she has guided me through a lot, personal, business, and spiritual. You know, so my agreement with her and my dedication to her was always to create a community environment. And that's really
Touche.
what Absalom's House of Voodoo is. It is a shop. There is a small portion that is a shop that operates, but the other portion of it is a garden space, community space where people, they come, they meditate, they sit, they have lunch, they enjoy the vibes of the. A lot of our folks call it the temple.
Yes.
They enjoy the vibes of it before they go back out into the real world. It's a way for them to get some respite. The other thing it is
Mm-hmm.
it is community oriented. We have a lot of events throughout the month, from our full moon kickbacks to movie nights to any of the other events that people might want to host here that are free. We offer all of those
Touche.
things as an opportunity for people to come together, to meet people, to discuss. There's that portion. The other portion of it is social services in that way, the spiritual social services. I'm not the only person at Absalem's House of Voodoo. I'm the guy that runs it all. I'm usually the guy that's out there raking that yard. that that's really who I am. And I'm raking the yard, and then people come through the door and they go, excuse me, do you work here? And I go, yeah.
Wow.
you know, yeah, I'm the guy picking up the
I love
trash
it.
and screwing in light bulbs and painting things and all, yeah.
Oh man,
Um,
yes, yes.
but the other
You ever
people that are
considered
here,
doing a day in the life? I'm sorry,
woo,
that delay. I'm sorry. I said, have you ever considered doing a day in the life of
oh,
at the
I
Voodoo House?
whoever wants to follow us around with a camera all day, come on. I invite you
Don't
because
threaten
you,
me with a good time.
yeah, because
I might pop up with a camera. Like, okay,
you'll see some stuff.
a day in the life.
Yeah, the staff here, they always go, oh, we should do a reality show, because it is between my clients and funny guys that come through here and the things that they deal with. Again, I'm not the only one here. There's Eolas. She does readings, she does healings, cleansings, things like that. There's Keys. He's one of our hoodoo practitioners. He does readings and healings also. So there's other healers here as well. My
Yes,
wife, Elijah, they're all good people, and they all have the opportunity to provide that healing to somebody. So I always tell people, come by because you're going to meet somebody else. It doesn't have to be me. It all of these people are just as wonderful, and you're going to get your healing one way or another. And if we can't, we're going to refer
absolutely.
you to somebody that can.
There we
That's
go.
that's that's
Yes,
something that we believe in a lot. We believe in working with people and networking. Look, I get people that come to me all the time, and when Orishas call them, I go, I don't know why they sent you here. I said, because I practice voodoo. I said, but I know somebody, then maybe that's why
yes,
they sent you to me. And I'm going to give you their number, and I want you to call them and tell them, Doc told me to call you because the Orishas are calling me.
exactly, exactly. I love it. Oh, I love it. But I'm loving the whole alignment anyway because that's like a telltale sign when things are divinely legit is when they're aligned in ways that humans can't put together. If that makes sense.
Exactly.
You are first decant case in point how this whole thing just whipped up together. I was randomly, because I'm not gonna lie, I was so mad that I didn't know about the Crossroads movie night ahead of time. Because if I would have known ahead of time, I'd have came and been there. Like that's Robert Johnson, and I'm not gonna lie, I still have a grizzly bear crush on Joe Morton. So, anyways, um, especially the way he played Legby in that movie. Oh, sexy. But anyways,
Okay.
don't mind my weirdness.
Okay.
But then something said, because I've been cutting up this Aries season on the Mothership, because every feature I played during Aries season was an Aries. That was what the whole lineup was for all the different artists that I've been featuring. All of them
Okay.
were Aries, and most of their jam sessions were on their solar returns. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh damn, because I had just brought the blues to Moon Days. And the blues segment is gonna be called the Mississippi Mud
Okay.
because we
Oh,
doing the
okay.
old blues. We doing the old blues. So when I saw the Crossroads flyer, I was like, oh, I should have known about that ahead of time. And so Spirit said, check to see when his birthday is. And so I went on your page and I looked and I said, oh dang, his birthday's coming up for tour season. And Oya was like, grab him now. But now. Oh, okay. But then when you look at the year number, 422, that's 8, right? Plus 2026, that's 1, that's a 9. So all y'all is gonna be there's gonna be some transformations, positive transformations going on in your world because of how this was the alignment that I was given. And it's like, oh, there's a 9. And everybody whose birth number is adding up to a 9 this year, Oya's just kind of throwing me in the mix. Because I'm usually all prim and formal and emails, and Oya's like, girl, that's spiritual family. Call that man.
Yeah.
And then like your reader keys. I love the name keys and the correlation, the SU and the choices, and then y'all had a crossroad night. So when you learn how to read the language of spirit, whether you're hoodoo, voodoo, orisha, when you know how to read the general universal language of spirit, you know when it's speaking, no matter who you're talking to through what system. And I see a lot of those synchronicities with Absalem's House of Voodoo. So I'll be out there hanging out when I need to come back down to Earth from the spaceship.
Come on down. Yeah. It's a beautiful environment, we really take a lot of pride in this property. The way spirit brought this property to us in the middle of downtown on the East End, you know, um,
Wow, yeah.
to to cultivate it is one of our biggest joys. I tell people, if you would have seen the property how we got it in 2016, it was in really bad condition. To what you see now, we've put in so much work for spiritual people in Houston to just have a place to sit and ground, you know, and to just meet
Hmm.
other people like them.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, we're 9 minutes outside the hour, so we're gonna wrap this interview so that you can choose your theme song to conclude your hour. So, do you have any closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts is it's Earth Day, plant something, water something, and never forget, in order to make something grow, you must prune the things that no longer serve the plant purpose. We
I love it.
are plants ourselves.
Love
Okay?
Hi, Shay. And so, what song do you want me to spin for you to close out this cosmic ear hustle? I got old school blues, old school R&B. I got alternative rock. What you want?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So it's my birthday. Well, who is a Taurus?
Well, you got Stevie Wonder, you got Duke Ellington, you got Ella Fitzgerald, you got Janet Jackson, you got Busta Rhymes, we got Chris Brown, but that's a little too new school. We old spirits.
Ella Fitzgerald.
Um, okay, something from Ella Fitzgerald.
How about, let's
You
see,
got it.
Ella Fitzgerald. Ooh, there's a lot in there.
Yes. Well, we got 8 minutes, so I'll throw in three or four for you because
Okay.
her songs are about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I love it. Thank y'all so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And with that said, you all know the groove. Y'all all know the drill. We're going to get back on up to the groove. And this is 222.9 The